Welcome back to the Dynasty Lunch Break. I'm your host, Garrett Price, and today, I don't know about your guys' leagues, but my leagues, all of a sudden, there is a flurry of trading, And so I figured if that's the case for you guys, that's got to be the case. Or if that's the case for me, that's got to be the case for you guys. Vice versa, either which way, there's got to be trades going on in your league. So we're going to talk about that today. Also, Kobe in the clutch here. Andrew's here. Although, Andrew, I have no idea what that means. There might be a secret code. You might be part of some like deep undercover operation. I have no idea what finger red number 1 means. But it sounds cool. But it's been a good trading week for you as well. Steven's here hanging out. The gang's all here. Everybody's ready to talk. Look, before we get into everything, full transparency moment. Number 1 show. That's all. Hey, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. My guy. Andrew's my dude. Get Pittman off my team. Let's get him out of here. So little confession. I officially feel very old. It's been a little over a year since I had played pickup basketball. And finally took the time out. And I was like, you know what? I need to go. I need to play, see these guys. It'll be good to hoop. It's good exercise, all of these kinds of things. I can barely move today. I did something to my lower back that I've never done before. I have no idea. Like, I haven't had a history of back trouble. Like, I could barely walk this morning. Going up and down stairs, not like no bueno. Totally agree. No better cardio than pick up hoops because look, when you're working out by yourself, like you only push yourself so hard. Like unless you're truly disciplined, and for those of you that are and are able to push yourselves like that when you don't have like a goal you're shooting for, like good for you. Good for you. Like that's awesome. I'm not that way. So I'm with you, KD. Like you add in this competitive spirit now, and now all of a sudden that changes things. Now I'm trying to get up and down the floor. Now I'm trying to make things happen. Now I'm getting the sweat flowing. Like, yes, it is fantastic cardio for sure. Uh, so yeah, the defensive stance must have been what messed it up. Yeah. Uh, I hear you. Look, no one wants to play defense. No one wants to play defense. Push yourself on a bike with friends if you're my age. There you go. Little biking action. I have not. It's been well over a year since I've hopped on a bike as well. My wife and I, we do enjoy going bike riding here and there, but it's not necessarily high speed. It's more a leisurely stroll. Tore my ACL at 36 playing ball, and now avid road cyclist, faster than my friends. There you go, Justin. There you go. I respect it. All right. So let's talk trades. That's the whole purpose of today's episode is I want to focus on trades. Because here's what happens. Week 1, nobody wants to overreact too much. But by week 2, going into week 3, we're starting to get a good feel, and you don't want to be too late to the trigger. So I think we're going to, like, I've already seen it quite a bit in my leagues, but I think even over the next 2-3 weeks, it's only going to pick up even more because you don't want to be the last one to make the move. Because if you wait too long, now all of a sudden everyone else is hip and they don't want that player anymore, or vice versa. So you don't want to be the last one to make a move, but you don't want to be overreactionary. It can be tough. So let's discuss trades on the show today. Cody's saying Pittman will be fine when Downs rejoins the team this week. He's getting targets. Nathan says start 3 this week. Kelsey, Schoonmaker, Strange, Addison, Schultz, and Andrews. Tight end premium. I know it's ugly, but you got to still go with Kelsey and Andrews for now. Andrews obviously was more involved this week. Kelsey's week was ugly, but here's the hope. One, that it was just a fluke. But two, even bigger, with Isaiah Pacheco out, we've seen this before where Kansas City uses Travis Kelce as a pseudo running back in a way. And not that he's lining up in the backfield taking snaps or anything like that, but that short area game that you're looking for those 3-7 type of yards like that. Kelce can thrive in that area. So I wouldn't be too overreactionary to um, to not be willing to start Travis Kelce. Andrew says, heavy favorite in my 1 QB 12-man PPR. I had Burrows and Stafford at QB and not loving it. Traded Jordan Mason, Burrow, and a 25-second for Allen, 6-point passing touchdown. Love that. Love that move. If you, it was to the CMC owner, makes perfect sense. Look, if you can upgrade to an elite quarterback that, despite his propensity to just truck people, has stayed really healthy, like that's a great move. What do I do with Mark Andrews? Yeah, Andrew, like there's really not much you can do at this point, because if you sell him now, you're selling him at the lowest value that he's had. And odds are he's going to bounce back to a certain extent. Obviously, this past week was rough. Well, 2 weeks ago was even more rough, but even this past week was a little bit rough. But all of that being said, he's still a guy that should be getting a lot of targets, has always been one of the favorite weapons of Lamar. And it's not like he's old. Like, we're not worrying about his age. So unless Likely comes out and is just otherworldly, taking all of the targets, which I don't see happening, I think if anything, it's a good time to buy low on Mark Andrews, honestly. Josh, are you tearing down from Jalen Waddle as a contender? Look, this Tua stuff does have me worried. He's also just been okay since the arrival of Tyreek. He's not been that wide receiver one that we saw that he could be before the Tyreek edition. He's just been okay. And if Tua's not there, like, yeah, I would probably tear down. Honestly, like if I could get Godwin and maybe even just a small plus, I'd probably do that. If I could get, I'm trying to think of who else, because the hard part about Godwin is he's obviously balling out. So that manager doesn't really want to move him at the moment. Let me look at my overall rankings here. If I could go after, guessing Devonta Smith's probably not viewed as a tier down from most people. Zay Flowers, I would almost just as much rather have Zay Flowers at the moment. If I could get Pickens plus, I'd consider that. If I could get, if I could get Jaden Reed, I would do that. Obviously with a little bit of plus as well. So I think those are some names that I would be targeting if I was the guy that had Jalen Waddle and I'm a contender. Let me get through the chat. Would you trade? This is from my guy Jordan here. Although Jordan even says later he just traded Waddle and a 25-second. I keep forgetting to show these. Waddle on a 25-second for Mason and Debo as a contender yesterday. He also asks, would you trade Pitts for a 26 first and a 27 third in a hard rebuild? Man, that's tricky. That is tricky. I wouldn't have an issue doing that. It's not my favorite because you're having to wait until 26. But if it's a hard rebuild, you're probably, going to be 2 or 3 years out. So I don't hate it. Nathan saying, Kelsey was ugly, but 2 big plays taken back by penalties. Absolutely. My guy MXSVN says, not a dynasty question, but redraft. 1 point per completion. Do I start Kyler or Baker this week? Kyler or Baker? All right, let me look at their matchups this week. I currently have it as let's see. Whoops. Let me switch it. All right. I currently have it as Kyler versus Detroit. It's going to be an indoor game. The secondary hasn't shown to be amazing. So Kyler, I would go Kyler over him. Denver, it's not the best in the world, but they do have Patrick Surtain, and it's probably just going to be like a slow, ugly game. Whereas I could see the Detroit game being much more fast paced, higher implied totals. I would go Kyler in that matchup there. All right, Steven Jr. 12-team super flex. I'm guessing N, so that means no tight end premium. Start 11. Hard rebuild. Traded Brissett for Hendon Hooker. How do we feel about Hooker's outlook future-wise? Have a core of Stroud, Bowers, Ladd, JJM, Hawk. Outside of that, the team is trash. Look, I get it. I'm in 1 or 2 hard rebuilds as well. But for me, why not? Like, why not trade Brissett for Hendon Hooker? Brissett's not going to help you in the future at all. Hooker, although his opportunity in Detroit just may never end up materializing, he was a good prospect that was on track to maybe even be as high as a first rounder had he not torn his ACL. And there are still plenty of teams that need a quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if some team eventually traded for him and said, like, hey, we're going to give him a shot, see if he can be the guy. If not, we'll draft somebody next year, but we're going to give him a chance. So yeah, I love those kind of moves. Jack, I have a Waddle, Olave, Pittman, and Tank Dell in a dynasty league. I am probably still a contender. Would you trade away any 4 away, even if it would be selling low? I probably am not at the moment, just because you're going to be selling literally, like, all 4 of those guys. You've had really bad luck so far, so you'd be selling really low. If you can get anywhere close to pre-week 1 value for those players, Olave might be the one you have the best shot at. Then I have no problem doing it, but I think it would be bad to just sell low and be too short-sighted. Gabe, start one of these 3: McLaurin, McConkey, or Steele. Ooh, that's tough for me. Let me look at my rankings and matchups and things like that. I have McConkey just behind Terry McLaurin. Washington's going up against Cincinnati, which is an okay group. It's not great, it's not terrible, but I like it better than the Pittsburgh matchup overall. Carson Steele is the ultimate, like, if you're projected to lose by quite a bit, go Carson Steele. Like, just take the crazy upside. But otherwise, I'd probably go with Terry McLaurin. But it is very close for me. Next up, we have, I don't even know if this one will fit on the screen, will it? Oh, yeah, well, okay. What are we doing with Waddle? So we just talked about him a little bit. I'm contending and also have Tua. Want to make a move for Nico. Tried all offseason to buy low with Dell and Diggs talk, but other manager feels he's a contender, but more of a pretender. Do I wait until Tua comes back and hopefully Waddle is good again? And hopefully by then the other manager is feeling like less of a contender. Yeah, I'm not trying to sell Waddle now because his value is truly at an all-time low. He has not played well. He just lost his quarterback. He's still very young. And we know at some point Tyreek is going to have to hang him up. So Waddle is going to be their main wide receiver of the future. So I'm not going anywhere when it comes to Waddle. I would much rather just hold him, bite the bullet. If I have to make a move to get more contending wide receivers on my roster, then I'm trading, my second to get me, some old wide receiver that can get the job done for the year, or something like that. I really don't want to move him right now unless I absolutely have to. James saying super flex, full PPR. Do I start Danny Dimes, Levis, or Diggs in the super flex spot? I did also pick up Dalton. Ooh, yeah, that's a tough super flex spot to be in. Right now, Daniel Jones has to go against Cleveland this week, so I am trying hard to avoid him. The Green Bay matchup for Levis is not much better. So that's not super ideal. Who does Dalton have this week? I haven't really looked at his. Well, they've got Vegas. Vegas isn't a terrible matchup, but it's not a great matchup. I might be starting Diggs. I usually am team like you start a quarterback in the super flex spot unless you're just forced to otherwise. And I think in this scenario, you're just forced to otherwise, honestly. Andrew saying start one, Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, Derrick Henry, PPR. So matchup wise this week, we've got Aaron Jones going up against he's got Houston, which is not an ideal matchup. Derrick Henry against Dallas, who's actually been decently vulnerable against the run. They're better against the pass, but they've been decently vulnerable against the run. And then we've got Brian Robinson. He's got Cincinnati, another one that does give up a lot on the ground. I'm probably leaning Derrick Henry this week. I don't love it, but I'm probably going with Derrick Henry. Waddle equals DK plus what? Asked Shane. Not much, honestly. Mid to late second. I don't think there's a huge difference at this point. James, what's good? Garrett, would you trade Xavier Legette in a 26 first and second for Olave? My team is pretty strong everywhere, but my QBs are getting older with Dak, Lamar, and Baker. Maybe I should keep the first. The good news is, yes, like I get it, Dak's a little bit on the older side, but you still should be good for, 3 years at least. So I wouldn't be overly worried about that. So as far as Olave goes, I'm not the biggest Olave guy, but I think that's a good move. You're 2 years out, so you're not having to stress too much. If you're strong everywhere, then get yourself the assurance to help you win a ship this year. So I have no issue with that move. I think it's a pretty fair move overall. We rocking with Hunter Henry tonight. Don't think I can depend on Evan Ingram to play Monday night. Yeah, I wouldn't risk it. Waiting all the way until Monday to find out he's out. So yeah, I think you rock with Hunter Henry tonight. There's a couple other streaming options that I think are in play here, but chances are they're snatched up by whoever. So yeah, I think you got to go with Hunter Henry. Stevie, I'm a strong contender. What should I do with AJ Brown? Hold or trade? I think you hold, at least until he comes back, because anytime there's an injury and worry about that kind of stuff, it's going to lower his value in people's minds. It shouldn't. I'm holding as a contender. I still think he finishes as a wide receiver one, even with the missed time. He's so good. We saw it in week 1 in Brazil. He had a massive game. Jalen Hurts, you could tell, needed another receiving option at the end of that game last week. So yeah, I'm holding AJ Brown. Bushy boy. Apologize. Started 2-0 in a 12-team Superflex league with Geno and Darnold. My other quarterbacks are Carr, McCarthy, and Willis. Been offered a 25 second for Carr. Enough to trade, or should I keep Carr? Here's the thing. it's awesome that you started 2-0 with those guys. But the likelihood of you finishing as a legit contender with those quarterbacks is probably pretty low. So for me, I am looking to gain value. Now, is a 25-second enough? Probably not, because my guess is if a team's trying to get Carr, they're probably a contender. I would need 2 seconds if they're late, or an early second to move on from Derek Carr for me. Jake saying, thoughts on Jonathan Brooks, and what would it take for you to trade away Bijan? What is too good to turn down? So Jonathan Brooks, real talented back out of Texas. Really liked his tape. 3-down guy, real good pass catcher, fairly elusive. So I like Aaron Jones or Jonathan Brooks quite a bit. Now, as far as trading away Bijan, though, what I've seen in his usage through 2 weeks has been nothing short of astounding compared to what we had last year. And look, he's just had 2 okay games, and the volume suggests that he's going to have some bangers here very, very soon. He had a little over 14 and then a little over 16 points. So he's averaging somewhere between 15 and 16 points a game. He's going to eat. So if I were to trade him away, I would want the farm. Like, I would want an early first and 25. I would want a legit player to use right now. So like a Jonathan Taylor. Like, I know that's aiming a little high, but like, that's the kind of player I would want. An early first Jonathan Taylor and something else on top. When you're giving up an elite young running back, they have to way overpay. And honestly, even the trade I just suggested still might not even be enough for me. Like, that's just kind of the starting point that I would consider moving on from him. So yeah, it's going to have to be a ridiculously good trade. I actually mentioned it on the Nerds podcast. What would it be, 2 weeks ago? There's only like 5 to 7 players that I would take over Bijan, and that's in Superflex. I would take 2 receivers. It would be CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, and it would be quarterbacks of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts. That might be it. That honestly might be it. So yeah, you have to pay an absorbent amount to get him. Jeremy said, I lost Pacheco, so I had to trade out Ayuk and Bucky Irving for Mason and Rome in a PPR redraft. I have Hill, JSN, Neighbors. Did I mess up trading Ayuk with Debo out? Not my favorite in a redraft, but I get it getting Mason. He's going to help you, but problem is I worry that he's not going to help you in the playoffs because I'm guessing CMC will be back by then. So that is probably my biggest worry. Sorry, guys. Let me get a little drink ski here. That's what I needed. All right. Let's see. Josh has tried to comment a couple times, but just commented the 10. I don't know. All right. So this is supposed to be 101 instead of 110 in this one. Oh, we read it. All right. 10-team Superflex PPR League offered Nico Collins and an early third for the projected 2025 101 and 2 late 25 seconds. We buy Nico for these prices. Heavy competitor, not my first. That's tough to give up the 101. It's a good class. But if we're looking at it right now, it's probably going to be Ted McMillan or Luther Burden as the top guy. And right now, I would definitely take Nico over those players. So, yeah, I would do it. We've got Alex in a rebuild. Team 1 QB have Marv and Trey McBride plus Kincaid was offered Pitts for McBride straight up. I'm not the biggest McBride guy, and I do like Pitts, but right now, there's no reason. I don't think there's any real reason to give up on McBride for Pitts. Like, he needs to give you something a little bit extra, I think. A little bit extra. All right. Yeah, going back to our earlier conversation, Steven saying he does not think Hooker's going to be able to shine there. Ooh, here we go. Oh, this was from his earlier. That's the hardest part with this, is trying to keep up with everything. So I'm sorry. It takes me a little too long to get through these. Fatima, would you trade White and Dell for Pickens? I have Nico too. I still have Dell right at the Pickens level. So even though I'm not a big White guy, I wouldn't. Well, I am a big White guy, but I'm not a huge fan of Rashad White. So I would probably not, because I think those two players are pretty even, Dell and Pickens. Kyle saying, what should we do with Garrett Wilson in my Dynasty League right now? I'm starting to worry. Is there only are there any good targets I could try to flip for? Kind of starting to think he's closer to McLaurin than he is Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not quite there yet. I understand the concern. I genuinely do. I'm not quite there yet, though. If we get to week 4 and we're still seeing these like 12-point games, 14-point games, like we're not seeing him really be that elite alpha that we think he could be, then I'll get there. Now, that being said, if you could trade straight up for Nico, if you could trade straight up for Malik Neighbors, if you could trade straight up for like anybody in that range, sure, absolutely. I would have no problem doing that at all. The lowest I would go straight up right now is like a Rashee Rice. It's probably the lowest I would go. Oops, didn't put it up. But that's, yeah. I'm not quite ready to give up just after 2 weeks with Aaron Rodgers. Andrew just pulled off 2 trades. In a 1 QB league, I got Gibbs and Pitts for Bowers and Odunze. I like that move. I think it's a good move. I was in need of a running back, super flex. I got a 26 first and Dobbins for Tyrone Tracy, Mason, and a 25 second. Oh, I love that one. That second deal is fantastic. You've got a first and Dobbins and gave up Mason, Tracy, and a second. Ooh, sexy. Great job, Andrew. MX says 12-team Superflex tight end premium. QBs are Burrow, Herbert, Carr. Wide receivers, Pittman, Flowers, Reed, Evans, London, Ridley. Currently have Hawk on the IR. Running backs, Barkley, Pollard, Javonte, and other handcuffs. Do I make any moves? The question is like, where, like, are you trying to go for a ship? Because right now, I think this team is close, but not quite there. So if you're trying to go for a ship, yeah, I'm probably making a move. But it's never a bad idea to kind of let things play out and then wait till we get closer to week 6, week 7, and then kind of make that determination. Do I want to move all in on a player? Because the tricky part is if you move all in now, there's nothing worse than trading for a player. Say you give your first, trade for a player, and then they get hurt right away. Now, granted, they could get hurt right away at either time, but at least you've eliminated a few more weeks, and so hopefully they'll be there for the playoffs. So I like to wait a little bit longer if I'm trying to go like push all in for that chip. Zach saying, should I look to move Jaden Daniels if he has another big rushing game tomorrow? The low A-dot throws make me worried that his fantasy value is only sustainable if he runs, which reminds me of Fields. This is super flex. I share some similar concerns, Zach. He's been great for fantasy, but I do worry that long term, is he going to be viable? So should we potentially sell while he is looked at as a top 6 type dynasty quarterback? Yeah, if I could get like, I would still rather Anthony Richardson than him straight up. And I know he's been a little hit and miss, but I'd still rather him straight up. I would rather long term, I'm still probably taking Justin Herbert ahead of him. Still probably taking Jordan Love ahead of him. So those would be names that I'd be looking to move. And probably you would get those guys plus right now for Jaden Daniels. MX saying he wants to move up. That was the Garrett Wilson trade, wanting to move up. Yeah, you could always look to upgrade to a Jefferson, a CeeDee Lamb, an Amon Ra, and do Garrett Wilson plus a first and move into that tier. Stevie Jones, redraft PPR. I have Tyreek as my wide receiver 1. I'm strong at wide receiver, but I have Kenneth Walker as my RB2. Then it's Carson Steele, Javonte, Chuba. Would you flip Tyreek for a mid RB1 or another sneaky wide receiver? I have no issue trading Tyreek for a high-end running back, especially if you can get like another depth wide receiver piece with it. So can I trade Tyreek and get Jonathan Taylor and Terry McLaurin? Like, that's the type of move I'd probably be looking to get. Ryan saying he's 2-0 in the redraft Best Ball Nerds League. Yeah, I took an L this week. I did. I took an L. It hurt. It hurt. If you guys don't remember, we did a live Best Ball draft here right on the show with all of you guys. So there's many of you that are here that are in on that league. Man, I am really struggling with the old throat ski today. All right, Anthony. I'm a contender in a tight end premium PPR league. Do I wait? Do I keep on waiting on Kincaid or trade for a better tight end this year? The hard part is, like, who are you going to trade him for that's for sure going to be better? The entire tight end position has been rough the first 2 weeks. So I think, honestly, like, if you want to get yourself an insurance policy, for lack of a better term, go get yourself a Colby Parkinson. Go get yourself a Zach Ertz, like, just in case you need to start. I'm sure I'm fine with that, but I'm still probably starting Kincaid. So I don't think there's much you can do there unless somebody's willing to trade you Bauer straight up. Andrew, I traded Hall for a 25 early first, 26 first, and Trey Benson in a 12-team QB league. I feel they are similar. And that first is almost guaranteed to be top 3. Curious about the 26 first. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I like Trey Benson quite a bit. I think he eventually is going to be really good in Arizona. So he is somebody that I'm targeting in trades and things like that. But I think it's fair. I think it's a fair deal. Willie Doo says Tua, and this is in a 12-man league. Tua, Hall, White, Nico Higgins, Aaron Jones, Ferguson, benches Bucky, Braylon Allen, Steele, Addison, Gesicki. Do I trade Jones, White, or Bucky for Anthony Richardson or pick up Fields, Geno, or Darnold? I'm guessing this is a redraft question here. I would say I would probably just rather pick up a quarterback because you're going to be pretty thin at running back pretty quickly if you trade Aaron Jones. And then it's really hard to get another running back. Would you buy low on Pacheco if manager is willing? What would be his price? I'm willing to buy low if I'm giving in the seconds, like if I'm giving a second round pick. But if he's still wanting a first, nah, I'm out. Shane, non-superflex contender, looking for running back depth, offered the manager Spears and a 25-second, which to me was a little bit of an overpay. He countered with adding a 27-second. Are you still okay pulling the trigger? I don't see in the question, Shane, who you're trying to get, unless I missed it. Non-super flex, I'm a contender looking for a running back depth. Offered the manager Spears and a 25-second, which was a little bit of an overpay. Yeah, I don't see who you were going for. Let me scroll down and see if you added that somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, let me know. Let me know who you're targeting in that trade, and then I'd be happy. Oh, Aaron Jones. Okay. Aaron Jones. That's tough. If you're a contender, though, like Aaron Jones is a good target. I feel like Spears and a second, and then adding an additional second is a lot, though. I'm okay with Spears in the second. I can live with that, but I'm not giving the second on top of it. Like if he wants a third, sure, I'll throw him a third, but I'm not giving 2 seconds because 2 seconds by itself is probably what Aaron Jones should be. I'm already adding Spears, who we all know I love. And so I'm willing to do what I need to do to win a ship, but yeah. All right. What could I add to Laporta in a 25 probably early first, not mine, to get Bijan? I wouldn't add too much. Like you can add something small. You want to add like a mid to late second, sure. I'm not adding too much more. I get it. Laporta's been down the first couple weeks, and I love Bijan. I just told you how high I was on him. But if you're getting an early first and a top tier tight end, I'm not trying to give up too much more. Kyle said he actually tried trading Garrett for Nico and was shut down. Would you be willing to do Garrett Wilson in a second for Neighbors, though? I would. As much as it pains me, and I love Garrett Wilson, I would be willing to do that. Jordan says, Anthony Richardson is my QB3 behind Allen and Murray. Would you tear down from A-Rich to Goff to get a wide receiver like JSN? I think I would, especially because I'm not counting on him to start week in, week out for me. Goff is like the ideal third quarterback. If I could have any third quarterback that's like realistic, like, yeah, well, the perfect third quarterback, CJ Stroud. Like, yeah, sure. But if I could have a realistic third quarterback, Jared Goff is that guy. Because I'm never worried about starting him, but I don't ever have to. So, yeah, I love that. Lorenzo, howdy. What's up, buddy? Tight end premium superflex, Achane, Worthy, and Brooks, or Brees Hall, Pacheco, and Jaden Reed. Ooh, this is a big boy trade here. All right, let me clear the mechanism here. I need to focus. Achane, Worthy, and Brooks for Brees Hall, Pacheco, Jaden Reed. So for me right now, I barely have Brees ahead of Achane, but I do have him ahead. I would have Worthy. Yeah, I think I would have Reed, right? I mean, that's basically a coin flip. And then Brooks or Pacheco, I'd rather Brooks. So yeah, that is super even. I guess it would really come down to how much I believe in Achane. I think that's really what it comes down to. Do you think he stays healthy? Do you think he continues to be a top tier guy? Or are you worried about the size and stuff? I think that's really what this trade comes down to. If I had to choose, I'm choosing the Brees side, but it is so close. Tyler says this is a redraft question here. He said, I was able to get Pirine, Gesicki, Kareem Hunt, and Ferguson, but I need a wide receiver. Can I get Quentin Johnston or Shakir? But I don't know what to do. So I need to drop one of those guys in order to pick up Quentin Johnston, or Shakir. I'm probably dropping P. Ryan. Probably dropping Samaje P. Ryan. Yeah. Andrew, are we starting to worry about Jamar Chase? Thinking about moving him? If so, would you try to target an exchange? Give it 1 or 2 more weeks here. I have not loved the start to this season. That was kind of expected with him holding out and things like that. Should start to get in more of a regular groove here very soon. What do you think of Baker's value in Superflex? Fatima, we talked about this a little bit on, I think, the show that came out today, or was it the one that came out yesterday? Either way, we talked about it on the Nerd Spot. I have him ahead of Brock Purdy right now. And I know that that's like a little hot takey, but like I would rather him over Brock Purdy at the moment. So if that gives you any indication where I stand on him. Steve, I'm a contender and was able to get Bowers in a trade. Nice. I have Goddard and Gesicki as my backups. Which one do you try to trade away? Whichever one gets me the most value, honestly. Like, I'm not worrying about my tight end too. I just need somebody that I think can give me a solid amount of points. So whatever they're willing to pay more for, that's who I'm willing to trade away. Steven, you missed your Pacheco question. Did I miss it? Or did you miss it? Oh, yeah, I did answer that one. Basically, I said, yes, I'm willing if it's like a second round pick. I'm not giving a first round pick for Isaiah Pacheco, but if the manager's willing to sell for a second, then heck yeah, I'm absolutely willing. Kyle, appreciate you, homie. Willie Do, my running backs are Mason, Hall, Steele, Aaron Jones, and White. Got offered Bucky plus White for Anthony Richardson. Ooh. I'm trying to remember. Was that a redraft league? I don't remember. Let me scroll back. Oh, yeah. So it was a 12-team league. Yeah, but if you're picking up, I'm guessing that's redraft. I don't hate that. If that's all it costs, I don't hate that. Price check on Swift. Are we buying low or avoiding at all costs? I'm willing to buy low-ish. Like if the price is pretty low, yeah, I'm willing to buy, but I'm not actively seeking it out. But if somebody's panicking, then yeah, absolutely, I'm willing to buy. I think better days are ahead for that offense, but I'm not seeking it out as much, if that makes sense. Oh, sorry, Cyborg. I forgot the pictures up. Lorenzo, I'm worried about the size, so that's going back to our H-Chan Breece Hall discussion. Totally understand. Nico or Olave in a late 25 first. I am going with Nico there. That's tough. But with it being a late first, give me the best player. Give me the best player. And I think Nico is far and away the best player there. Waggle, I have both Kelsey and Pitts. Got offer for Kelsey and Addison for Romo Dunze. I have Caleb too. Non-tight end premium Superflex Dynasty. I would rather Romo Dunze. So yeah, I think that would be a good move. Getting yourself a good young wide receiver like that. If I drop Samaje P. Ryan, is it Shakir or Quentin Johnston? I'm going with the pure upside, and I'll probably go with Quentin Johnston. I like Shakir more, and I think he's the better player. But if I'm desperate and I need to start somebody, Quentin Johnston's the one that could actually put up a big game for me. So I would do that. All right, last few here. YWL Stroud Bowers 25 first, which is mid, or Caleb, Marv, and Odunze. 6-point passing touchdown, half PPR, no tight end premium. Woo! think it's Stroud. I think it's the Stroud side. It's close, and I don't want to not get Marvin Harrison Jr., but we're thrilled if Caleb turns into CJ Stroud. Bowers is already the tight end 1 in Dynasty, and getting a mid first in a good class. Yeah. I think that's what I'm doing. All right. I'm going to go to Be Different Fitness and Nutrition. That's the last one I'm going to do for the show. So those, any after that, I'm not answering. Can't make me. Steven, would you add Bucky in a second or Pacheco in a sec? Bucky in a second or Pacheco in a second for Pacheco? Guessing that's White in a second. That's probably a little too much. I think that's a little too much for me. Johnny saying, I'm going to start 2 to 3 running backs in Dynasty. Coming out of a rebuild, running backs are Achane, White, and Brooks. What was the question there? Did I miss it earlier? I apologize, Johnny. I'm not sure what the question is there, my man. Contender with CMC. Trade 80 Mitchell for Dobbins. I would take Dobbins there as much as I love Adonai. Jacob, my team is doing really well so far, but I am a bit skeptical of my running back production staying consistent enough to contend all year. My running backs are Achane, Dobbins, Sharps, Javonte, Chandler. Should I sell or ride? Depends on the rest of your team. Like Achane and Dobbins should be enough to get you through if you're stacked everywhere else. If you're not, then I'm selling. Dobbins in a second or Wicks in a first. Give me that Dobbins and second. Tyler, Quentin, Houston, or Dunze? I'll take a Dunze of those choices. And then Shane, loving the shows. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. It's good to just hang out and talk with you guys. Just get to talk fantasy football. All my leagues are contending with stacked running backs because Dynasty Nerds has helped me draft these rookies so well. My guy, appreciate you. What do we do with Spears and Javonte? They're bench players at the moment. Right now, look, nobody is more sad that they are both bench players right now than me. But there's really no point to selling either one of them. I would rather just hold and see what happens at this point. All right, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me at lunchtime. I have a fantastic time talking with you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy this as well. If you are not a part of the Nerd Herd, quick reminder, join the Nerd Herd today. We do an extra one of these every single week. We do it on Wednesday, same time at noon. Only difference is usually we're doing one of two things. We're either breaking down tape. So we've broken down tape from Travion Henderson and Omarion Hampton, 2 really good running backs in the 25 class. I would highly suggest going in there, getting to be a part of that. Or we also have different guests on. And so if you're like, hey, I like Garrett, but I would also like to have him talk with somebody other than just himself and us, then perfect opportunity. Perfect opportunity. Be Different says, join the dang herd already and listen to the long and welcome. That's right. That's the classic Rich Dotson. Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you later.